profile, I see pictures of me and her. It was always super platonic. However, it did lay the foundation for what would come later. When I'm walking outside, I see 3 cop cars lined up outside. Bro, like, you want me to do this for you, but look at what you put in front of me. You. What's good, YouTube? Back again with another video. Now look, today's video is going to be a very, very special video. Today's video is going to be a story time. In the last 2 videos, I was more in like a serious kind of tone, just talking about life, but you know, I'm feeling good today, so I'm like, let's just throw it out there for the kids, something a little less serious, with some fun for y'all, because at the time it wasn't very fun for me. As you can see by the title, today's story time is going to be about how I got fired from Target.
Even of surveillance footage, there is often nothing subtle about it.
At Target.
I worked at Target for, and this is crazy, I got fired 5 days before my 1-year anniversary at Target. So I worked for Target for a whole 360 days. To this day, I have never had, well, except for the current job that I got right now, I have never had a job that I had stayed at longer for a year. I always got fired or some noise happened and I had to quit. Things did not go in my favor. So with that further said, let's get into the video. I started working at Target. It was like during pandemic times in 2020. Yeah, so about like 4 years ago, I started working at Target. This was like peak COVID year. COVID just hit and everything was shut down. Like, couldn't go nowhere, couldn't do nothing. So after everything started to kind of slowly open back up, obviously Target was a very, very big market for everybody to go to because, you know, Target has food, medicine, clothing, all that kind of stuff. For any of y'all that don't know what Target is, it basically has everything. It's kind of like a more bougie Walmart, so to speak. They kind of sell the same stuff, just like at a higher price and a little bit more polished, if that would be the word to use. I applied to work at Target like 3 different times and I got rejected. And the 4th time, they finally accepted my ass. The reason that Target was so alluring was because at this time, Target was paying $15 an hour.
On July 5th, will be eligible to receive a minimum wage up from $13 to now $15 an hour. They are also including a one-time bonus of $200 to frontline workers. That is more than 2 times the national average. As it stands today, the minimum wage federally is $7.25.
$15 an hour at that time, like 4 years ago, was bang. There is very few places that you could go to as an entry-level position as a teenager to make $15 an hour. So yeah, when I seen that opportunity, they would post it all on their advertising. They'd post it on commercials, social medias, everything. Having that opportunity to get $15 an hour as a teenager was like, you nigga, yeah. So I jumped on that opportunity, finally got a job, and I really didn't care what I did at the time. At this point, I had just stopped working at a sneaker store. I got basically fired from that job too. I don't have a great track record with employment, but you know, maybe this is why I kind of found YouTube. I didn't really care what I did. I just wanted to make sure that I had some bread for myself. At this point, I was still living with my parents, so everything that I was making was just going to my savings or like little nice kind of shit that I wanted. Fast forward that, get the position at Target. Everything at Target was cool at first. My job was to be a front of store attendant. Basically what that meant was that I would have to stand in like a little section of the store, like right in front of the entrance doors and the exit door, and basically just greet people as they come in. The way our store was set up is that the carts were directly, like the shopping carts were directly in front of the entrance of the store. Anytime you come in, you'll see me, I'm standing right in front of the carts. What I had to do as well, since like I said, this is peak COVID time, I was in charge of sanitizing the carts.
Constantly clean our stores, carts, and baskets.
So I had my little big ass little spray bottle, the little blue liquid in there, and I had my little rag, and I would just spray the cart down, wipe the cart handles and everything, give it to the customer. And I would just, you know, greet the customers. They come in, and I ask questions. I give them a clean cart, which was all right at the time. I was doing that for maybe like about month or so. Once the COVID stuff started really hitting, everything was opening up, like a lot of traction started coming to Target, because Target was one of the stores that would post like when we had hand sanitizer, when we had disinfectant wipes, when we had the little spray, what's it called? I have some right. I always have this out, you know. This little, you know, disinfectant spray. Anything that revolved around sanitation, toilet paper, paper towel, that shit was flying off the shelves. When you're in a pandemic, people do not give a fuck about the next person. They are for themselves. It reminded me of the damn, like, Walking Dead type shit.
Down to my last. Me too. I'm sorry.
You really see their true colors, and people do not care if you fucking die. People would come in there and they would load up. Oh shit. Damn. Hold on. I know we're in a pandemic, but bruh, you do not need fucking damn. Literally, like, what are you gonna do with 15 of these? Like, can we be for real here? You got a family of 3. What are you going to do with 15 bottles of this disinfectant spray?
You don't have to buy so much. Take it easy. Just relax.
People was crashing out over some damn toilet paper. I had to do a little bit of everything, and then also I had to go outside and grab the carts. For all y'all niggas that are with me in the trenches, I know how y'all feel. Anytime carts was running low, because like I said, traffic at Target was crazy, I had to go outside, I had to collect all the carts, and then push them all back inside. I'll probably throw a video just for y'all to really set the picture. Like, anyone at a grocery store, when y'all finish y'all groceries and you put your cart back in a little cart stand where you should put the cart, not throw it, push it down the street. That's basically what I had to do. Collect all the carts, bring them back inside, clean them, sanitize them. It was okay at first, because I like activity. Like, I've always been in sports, so I like activity. As you know, as I've said before, I live in Florida. So Florida is by far one of the hottest states in the country. When it hits summertime, Florida it literally becomes a fucking oven, bro. Florida gets to 90, 93, over 100 degrees. I have to do this by myself. There's no 2 front of store attendants. It's just me. When the store ran low on carts, I'm literally grabbing all of these carts, running all around the parking lot to get all of these carts from all these directions. That shit is not easy, bro. Like, grabbing all of those carts in like the 95 degree, 100 degree weather, bro, I am sweating bullets, bro. My clothes, I would start coming home and my shit is just drenched in sweat, like completely drenched in sweat. After a couple months of doing this shit, bro, I was beat. And I didn't want to do anymore too, because I know everybody considers themselves a smart person, but for me, I feel like my value is up here in my brain, rather than, you know, just because I'm a dude, or like, it doesn't mean that everything I do has to be physical. Like, I feel like the value in me comes in my mindset and what I could offer to a company or offer to an employer. At the same time too, we had people call out a lot. We never had a point system. You just called out, you just called out. So there was really no unmotivating factor to not call out. If you was just tired or sick or didn't want to go in, you just say, hey, I just don't want to go in, and that was that. It would force me to learn other stuff when people would call out. The way the Target schedule was set up was that you would work specific amount of hours for that shift, and then the person coming in after you, their shift would overlap by like an hour or 2. So it'd end up being like 2 of y'all for 1 hour, 2 of y'all for 2 hours before that person leaves, and then you take over by yourself. Once that happens and I would see that people are calling out, I would take the opportunity to try to learn other things. So for me, I just took that as an opportunity, because I always like to be someone who knows how to do everything. I know people throw around the term like master of none, or tradesman of many, master of none. I could understand that point of view, but at the same time, if you're someone who knows how to do everything well, it can sometimes be out a person who can only do one thing really, really, really good. Anytime that someone called out, or when I had that overlapping shift, I would take the opportunity to try to learn more things. I'd learn the cashier, I'd learn our drive-up system, which is basically like kind of like Instacart, except instead of delivering it to your door, you drive up outside and we deliver it to your car when you're outside the parking lot. So I took the opportunity to learn the drive ups, cash register, customer service. It was called guest services. When you deal with like returns or like issues with things that you purchased or whatever the case is. So I started taking time to learn that. And once I started learning that and seeing like, oh, like I like this. Like my thing for me was guest services, dealing with people face to face. I started enjoying that aspect more than the manual labor of having to beat my shit in every time I had to go get these carts. Came to a point where I was like, I talked to my mom and I'm like, bro, I want to quit. And she's like, no, like, what are your other options before you do that? And one of my other options was talking to my general manager. It was one day I came in and the first thing I went to do was talk to her. Before I even clocked in, first thing I went to do was talk to her. Like, hey, like, you know, I've been doing this cart thing for a while, but like, I feel like I've been really getting a good hang of like the cash register and customer service. If you could try to give me more shifts in that specific area. After I spoke to her, she was very understanding, and literally the next following week on the schedule, I had 3 guest service shifts. I was like, damn, like this is like, I rock with this. And ever since that point on, I was only getting booked to do carts like twice. After that, things was cool. I became like one of the main people that was back there. All of us that were back there that were working were like all in the same age range. So it became like a little, kind of like a little family. Yeah, everything was real cool. I have hella Target stories, bro, like of guest service experience. You really deal with like the most ridiculous shit like all the time, bro. Like some always weird happens, always a story of that shit. I had a coworker, he found like $1,500 on the ground, scammers, theft, ridiculous ass returns, trying to return me like, let me not pull that up because that's gonna be embarrassing. Like returned this pot, bro, and this pot beat. Like I use this pot every day. Like people trying to return this shit, trying to tell me they only used it once. After working for a couple months in guest services, I started becoming really cool with this one dude. I'm gonna call him Keanu. Me and him was like, we would just vibe. He was really big into games, like video game stuff, and I like video games at the time too. But we would just kind of like vibe about like just different, you know, like topics about life. Like we were around the same age. He was a little bit older. But the main person in the story was Keanu's girlfriend. And I'm gonna call her Megan. It was Keanu and Megan. And we all worked in guest services. Yeah, so we were all just really cool friends. All 3 of us would go out together. We'd go like to the mall, we'd go get food together. I would go to their house because they both got like an apartment together. I would go there, we would just vibe out and everything like that. Everything was super cool. I didn't really see the signs of anything off happening. After a couple months of doing the guest services thing with them, Megan would have little disputes with Keanu. She would come to me about it. After a while, I started becoming closer with Megan. And this was never an issue for Keanu. We would go out by ourselves. Like it would just be me and her. I'd be at the house with her by herself. We would do everything, bro. Like, I mean, and it came to a point where it was just like, literally, I didn't go out with him anymore at all. It was just me and her. Like, me and her would go out by ourselves a lot. Like, I mean, a lot. And I was still living with my parents, so this even became an issue. I had my own car at this time, and I go to meet up with her at like bumfuck hours of the night, like 2, 3 a.m. in the morning, and I wouldn't come back until like 8 in the morning type shit. Like we was really like this. I never tried her shit. I never tried to do anything with her. She never tried to do anything with me. It was always super platonic. However, it did lay the foundation for what would come later. I can't even stress you enough how close you are. In my life, I've never been closer with anybody, aside from like my mom or like my dad, than this girl here. Like me and this girl were inseparable, bro. I knew everything about her, she knew everything about me. Anything she needed, I'd be there for her, she'd be there for me. It was the first time I really felt like someone had my back.
Oh shit.
He never complained about it either too. After a while, me and her working at Target together, this is essentially what got us in the position that we got to. On our break times, we would get a little snack or buy a couple things before we leave. So whatever the case, we might be leaving, we might be on our break time. One thing that Target stressed to us was a no confrontation policy. Under no circumstances would we embrace confrontation. If And if you see this iPhone, right? When I bought it, it was at least $1,000, right? It's probably ain't worth shit now. But if you bought this at Target and you went up to them and were like, I seen this on sale for $700. The sign on the wall said $700 and it rang up as $900. I was forced to literally discount it for you. And I know that sounds crazy to most people, but this happened every single day. People were literally like, well, I seen this on the sign for $10.99 and it's ringing up for $30.99. Can I speak to your manager? And every time the manager would always go and change the prices. We had the authority to change the prices too. It's not only managers. People would always be like, I seen this on the sign for this amount, but it's ringing up to this amount, and I'd have to discount it because my manager would tell me to, or anytime I called a manager because this sounded fishy, he would always change the price, or she would always change the price. This happened 100% of the time. And it came to a point where we as a whole, like our job essentially at guest services, if we did encounter that problem, we were just told to change the price just to avoid confrontation, because Target fucking hated confrontation. However, this would come into play when we were buying stuff for each other. What we would start doing was she would buy some snacks and I would take like $5 off the most expensive snack. The snack might be like $7.99. I'd take like $5 off, it'd be like $2.99. We started doing this for, it wasn't a lot, but it was like kind of every time I rung her up or she rung me up, I would take off a couple dollars off of her item, or she'd take a couple dollars off of my item. And let's say if I spent $50, I might only spend it up. I might only spending 30, or if she spent $80, I might have saved her like 20. So it wasn't anything big, but it was like little micro transactions. It wasn't a lot of stuff, and at the same time we weren't discounting like a shit ton of items. It was just like a couple items, but it did save with the bread. I never thought that would be my demise at Target. Nothing ever really came of it. Nothing was ever, no eyebrows was always raised. We just did it and then we would just forget about it. But it's about the company you keep. One thing about this girl was that she had some sticky fingers. Megan worked in like Target Beauty, which deals with all the beauty supplies, and from her accounts, what she would tell me is that she would kind of swipe a couple things here and there. Nothing major, nothing big. She wasn't bagging shit up, but you know, she might swipe a little facial product, a little cleanser, a little serum, a little lipstick like here and there. And I remember I'd come to her place and she'd have like a box of makeup shit that she got for the free ski. I never did that shit because I was scared as fuck. I was always scared that something was gonna happen to me, so I never did it. From when my time came, the person who I last spoke to in Target would tell me that they had their eye on her. So I think that was red flag number one. And then the second red flag, the second detriment that happened in this story was me trying to look out for a coworker. So I had this coworker, and I'm gonna call her Sarah. Sarah was very, I don't wanna say slow. She gave off that impression.
Y'all still chicken here? Yo, why we at the gas station, bro? Like, you low on gas or something?
What the fuck do you think, bro? You be asking the stupidest questions, bro.
And everybody behind guest services kind of like felt that way about her. Something was always up with her. So it's kind of like a little running joke that like, when we see the schedule, they're like, oh, I'm gonna leave you with Sarah. Like, you're gonna be by yourself with Sarah. And everyone's like, no, like, don't leave me with Sarah, because Sarah was not the greatest worker. Let's put it like that. One day, Sarah texted someone and said that she was gonna return a Nintendo Switch. Target had its policy for electronics, like high-priced electronic items, that we couldn't accept returns for no box. But us being all close at guest services, we were just like, we gonna return this for you. Target was very strict on this one policy about not returning open electronics, because basically the value was kind of lost. So Target was very, very strict about not returning no boxed electronics. Especially if you do, you cannot return it to the original line of credit, i.e. cash or back to their credit card. It had to be a store credit. She wanted us cash for it, so she came into the store. Unfortunately, it was me that had to do return because everyone else was kind of busy. I did not anticipate how badly she had left this Nintendo Switch condition. This shit was literally beat the fuck up. Like, it looked like someone had got a fucking hammer and just went to town. It was beat up, like beat the fuck up. And I'm just looking at her like, bro, like, you want me to do this shit for you, but look at what you put in front of me. But me being the good guest services worker I was just like, you know what, fuck it, I'm going to return this for you. So I go ahead, I scan the barcode off of like the Target website, and I do the return. I override the system. Override code would make it so that you could override the system, and it would override it so you could give it back to them on their card or give it to them cash. So I got an override code and I gave her back cash. And then she left the store. Not even 10 minutes after this happened, my Target security walks up. He's like, you have that Nintendo Switch? I'm like, yeah. And he's like, let me see it. And as soon as that happened, I'm just like, fuck. Like, I knew this was gonna come back and bite me in my ass. I gave him the Nintendo Switch, and he looked at me and he's like, why did you give us back cash for it? I tried to play the I didn't know shit, but it was a bad lie, honestly, because we all were like pretty well aware that we're not supposed to give cash for stuff like this. So he's like, well, next time, you know, don't give her cash for it. She needs to get a store credit. I think that was like the domino effect number 2 that made it look into both of us at the time, me and the Megan girl. I should have never done that return. After that, a couple more months went by. This is probably like the third red flag. So I'm not gonna tell this story here. This is gonna be in another story time. But me and Megan basically went to a pet store and we stole a cat. I'm not gonna tell this story now. I will tell that story another time, but we stole a cat. Maybe like a month after that was Judgment Day. That was when everything hit the fan at once. Our discounting, my returns, her theft, and this other theft outside of Target all just kind of met in one day. Normal day of guest services, like I said, I'm 5 days away from my 1-year anniversary, and I'm working the morning shift. She gets called into one of the manager's office. They say, hey Megan, we had our little radio, say, hey Megan, when you have a moment, please come to so-and-so's office. So that wasn't like out of the ordinary, but when that happened, she felt like something was wrong. Maybe like 20 to 30 minutes later, I have my new general manager. The black general manager left, and I had this new white lady that no one fucked with her. But she came in, she's like, hey, can you come with me into the office? I put my stuff down, and I go walk into the office. In there, I'm greeted by this guy I've never seen before. And he had like a file on the table, right? And inside this file was literally store surveillance pictures of me and Megan. And when that happened, I'm just like, fuck, like something bad is about to happen. He gets to talking and he says, I am so-and-so, I am the Target loss prevention, whatever, blah, 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 blah. I don't give a fuck. And then he's just like, do you know what loss prevention is? And obviously I know what loss prevention is. And I'm like, yes, your goal is to make sure that the store, you know, blah, blah, blah. Niggas, we know what loss prevention is. So I just answered this question for him. He asked me like standard Target questions and everything like that. Like, what's the proper procedure for this? What you do when this happens? Yada, yada, yada. So then he's like, well, it's been a couple months and we've been surveilling you and Megan's transactions. He kind of opened up the file. In the file, I see pictures of me and her at the cash register together when either she's ringing out something or I'm ringing out something. And he was just like, well, we've been seeing you guys' transactions and we noticed that you guys have been discounting items for each other. Is this true?
Not a chance.
I couldn't lie to him. I told him straight up like, yes, it's true. He had all the information anyway, bro. It was no point in me trying to like lie to him. But one thing he was fucked up and trying to do, bro, he was trying to really get me to like really snitch on here. He's just like, well, see, like you've only discounted like maybe $23. I knew that was a lie because I definitely done like probably at least closer to 100, but I guess that's all they could really catch me for was $23. but I wanted to speak to you about Megan. Have you ever seen Megan like take anything? And I'm like, no, I've never seen Megan take anything. And they really try to really get me to like turn on this girl, and I was not going to do that. So I'm just like, honestly, I don't know. I've never seen her take anything. I try to always continue to bring the conversation back to me. Like, this is about me. After like a good 20 minutes of this was a legitimate interrogation, bro. Like, after a good 20 to 30 minutes, I wasn't giving them shit on her. Like, that was my dog. Like, I was not gonna let them just take her away. After seeing these pictures, after going over the amounts, my general manager, she left the room and it was just me and him. And I'm just like, you know, so like, what now? What's gonna happen to me? And he's like, well, you know, that's not up to me to decide. That's up to the store. He said, don't try to impress these girls. He tried to give me some game. I'm not gonna lie, at the end, he was trying to just keep it real, like, you know, just look out for yourself. So we had that conversation, and about maybe he left the room and I was just there by myself. About 15, 20 minutes later, she comes back, my general manager in the room, and she's like, well, we regret to inform you that this is exactly what she said. I remember this shit like it was yesterday. She's like, well, Bradley, we regret to inform you that we have decided to, as Target, we have decided to sever our business relationship with you. Please turn in your box cutter, ID card. We are effectively letting you go. She said that, and it didn't hit me at first. I give her my box cutter, I give her my little badge, you know, my little Target. I have another one. I'm gonna show y'all in a second. Let me see this. Hold on. One second. This is the badge she asked me to turn in. I have, focus. I have 2 of these at a time. I go and get my little string bag out the locker, got my phone, and I just left the store. I didn't say bye to nobody. I didn't, nothing. I literally did, I caked walked out of there. I just felt ashamed, bro. Like, I didn't want to see anyone. I just watched you out the store. So as I'm walking to my car, that's when the feeling really set in. Like, my heart really started to get that heavy feeling. But the thing is that when I'm walking outside, I see 3 cop cars lined up outside, and the whole time Megan's still in the other room, and I haven't heard shit from her. First thing I do was call Keanu, and I'm just like, bro, like, I just got fired, bro, like, just let me go. And he's like, what? Like, what happened? I'm just like, yo, they got me and Megan, you know, this kind of shit for each other. And the police is out here for her, I think, because they wasn't out here before. He's like, yeah, they got Megan for the same thing too, but at the same time, like, the police is here for the cat. And I'm like, fuck. Like, I hang up the phone with him, and I just sit in my car and I just lay back in my seat. It hurt me a lot because I really enjoyed working at Target. I thought I'd be there for a lot longer than I did. It was a blessing for me to get fired at Target because it would lead me to my next job that I'm still in now. If I never lost my job, it would have never put me in a position where I am now to have everything I do right now. So I was very grateful to look back on it and be like, well, you got fired for a reason. So yeah, that happened. I called my mom. I told her like, hey, I'm coming home. I got fired from Target. I told them what I did, and they were kind of disappointed in me. I hate to fail my parents. That was like an unproud moment because, you know, I never want to let my people down. But you know, in that moment I did. I made bad judgment calls, and it came back to bite me. Maybe like 30 minutes after, I get a call from Megan, and she basically just gave me a run on everything. They got her on the changing prices for me. They got her on, you know, like a little petty theft of taking stuff from Target, and the police were there for the cat. And she was saying that whole time they were trying to get my name, and she didn't give him my name. She wouldn't tell him what my name was, where I lived. I mean, Target was able to confirm that was me, but they were trying to like bring me in for questioning and shit like that, and she held it down for me, bro, and I will always appreciate her, even though she hates my guts now because of some other shit that happened. That's another story in itself, but that was definitely like my greatest friend I ever had, bro, because she really could have just been like on some scary shit, just been like, this is Bradley, he lived here. So we all met up at a house, all 3 of us. We were all just talking about like everything that happened and woody woo. I don't really remember how much she ended up taking from Target, but the amount was a lot more than my $23. So she ended up getting a little petty theft charge. She had a whole court thing, and it was a lot for her, you know, to deal with. I know she had to get like a lawyer, And a little bit after this time, me and her had a pretty bad falling out where we didn't speak to each other for a while. So I never really did get to, you know, go to court with her, and that was one thing I wanted to do because I wanted to be there to support her. But our falling out was like really big, so I wasn't there for that. Even to this day, like I said, she probably hates my guts, but I really, like, I'll always do anything for her, you know. Like if the opportunity ever came around, she ever needs something, I'd be there for her, because things like that I don't forget. I have been back to that store like once. I just never really could set my face in there again after that whole situation happened. Most of the people don't even work there no more, but it's just like, for me, bruh, it was like more of a pride thing. Like I just could never show my face back in there. So I went back in there once, and I never went back there ever again after that day, after I got fired. So yeah, that is basically the story of how I got fired from Target. Lessons to take from this: don't steal, don't discount prices for your friends, and just think about the morally correct thing to do in this situation, because you never know when something will lead to your demise. Basically, what really led to my demise was that return of that switch. I never should have done that shit, and I think if I never did it, I don't think anything would have ever happened to me. Her, I can't speak for, but for me, I don't think they would have started looking into me as well, because from what I spoke to her is that they were already looking into her for like the other small stuff. Let me know if y'all want a video about my Target stories, because like I said, I got like hella Target stories. Damn, my memory card is running low. So yeah, let's wrap this up. I really appreciate y'all stayed along all the way through. This video is gonna be pretty fucking long, so if y'all stayed all the way through, I really appreciate y'all. And without further said, my memory card literally says has a minute left, so I'm gonna wrap this up. Appreciate y'all. Thanks for watching, and deuces.